Building wealth is all about the velocity of your money. How fast can you grow your money from $1,000 to $10,000? And your job now is to figure out how you can accelerate the velocity of your money. And in order for you to change the trajectory to go from slow and steady growth to fast and booming growth, is to focus on these 4 things. Number 1, you got to focus on your mindset. Number 2, your commitment. Number 3, your discipline. And number 4, your risk. Let me start by talking about your mindset, because the reality is, look, we live in a day and age where people's mindsets are really influenced about what's happening outside, what's happening in the media, what's happening in the traditional media, and what people feel the consensus of on social media. And people generally, I'm not talking about everybody, but you kind of have this like general consensus of, well, I'm not rich, so I hate people who are rich. And I can pretty much guarantee that when you carry that mindset, it's going to be impossible for you to ever become rich. Now, how do I know this? We remember that whole submarine incident recently, which was so devastating, so heartbreaking. It doesn't matter if someone's rich or poor or something's going on. There's a lot of things happening in the world, but when somebody loses their life who's innocent, that's sad. And when you read through the comments, most of them were solely focused on the incomes or wealth of people that were inside of the submarine. And what did they say? Oh, these are rich people problems. Why are we trying to help rich people? Oh, that's what happens when you're rich. And I can guarantee you that when you have that mindset towards rich people, that, oh, they're bad because they're rich, you are never going to have the opportunity to be rich, because naturally we want to be good people. And if being rich is being bad, why would you want to go out of your way to become bad? And this is where you got to understand, look, money does not make you a good person. Money doesn't make you a bad person. Money is just a tool. It amplifies who you are. When you give a good person more money, they have a tool to do more good. When you give a bad person more money, they have a tool to do more bad. And so if you want to be wealthy, all you need is more money. And more money is not going to make you a bad person. It's not going to make you a good person. It's going to amplify the type of person that you are. And instead of hating the people who have money, you got to start asking the question of, how did they get the money in the first place? And that simple switch in your mindset is going to completely change the trajectory of your life. And you might be thinking, oh, Jaspreet, that's just a bunch of woo-wah stuff. You can't just change your life by thinking differently. Yes, you can. And I'm not talking about this abundance. Oh, I'm just going to pray on money and money's going to come and fall on my laps. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about changing the way that you think. There are some people out there who think the world is against them. And when you think the world is against you, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to constantly be paranoid and not want to build trust with people, not want to network with people, not want to build businesses and relationships with people, because you're going to think the whole world's going to be against you. And as soon as something goes wrong, as soon as something happens in that business, I knew it. I knew the government was going to be after me. I knew customers were going to hate this product. I knew that the internet was going to not like this. I knew that people were going to try to shut me down. Well, you could change that same person. If you put them in a different mindset, it could be completely different. Because guess what? Every idea is going to have problems. People are going to hate on every idea in the world. You know, there's a meme on the internet that says, if you don't want to upset people, just sell ice cream or something along those lines. Well, guess what? Even if you sell ice cream, someone's going to be mad. People are going to have issues with everything that you do. They're going to have issues when you don't do things. They're going to have issues when you do things. That's a part of the world. There's going to be issues of regulations. There's going to be issues of a lot of things. And so now if you expect that to happen, and that's going to be the overwhelming force of why you can't become successful, you can guarantee you're never going to become successful. And this is where that mindset of now understanding the way you think is going to influence what you do. And what you do is going to influence what you get. But it all starts with their mindset, right? I call this the minority mindset because the minority mindset is about thinking differently than the majority of people. And the majority of people, especially in today's day and age, we live in this complaining society. We live in this self-misering society. We live in this victim mentality. We live in this society where we want to blame instead of wanting to change. Because guess what? It's easier to blame, right? When you feel crappy about where you are, especially financially, it's easy to blame your government and the boss. Man, it's because of all these taxes that we have to pay and all this government spending that we're broke. It's because my boss isn't paying enough that I'm broke. It's because my landlord keeps raising the rent that I'm broke. When what you'll see is some people in the same situation will be able to win despite all that other crap. Because guess what? There's a lot of crap in the world, period. Now, either you're going to go in with that mindset of despite the crap, I'm going to win, or I'm going to let the crap just parade on me. And you got to make that decision for yourself. Which one do you want to be? And this starts here. And I know this one is difficult because I've encountered a lot of different people and worked very closely with people with very different mindsets. And even if somebody is not skilled, they have no idea of how to do a particular task. You might have very little talents, but if you have the mindset of I'll do whatever it takes, you're going to have a much better shot at succeeding than somebody who's very educated, very skilled, very talented, but believes the world is against them and everything is against them. It's not about the skill and the talent, but it's about your mindset towards things. And then, now, if you're in the situation, you got to be honest with yourself. I'm not telling you to go immediately change your mindset because that's not how it works. I get that. In order for you to change your mindset, if you feel like, you know what, I feel negative. Yeah, I do complain about other people. I do complain. I get jealous when I see people who are rich. I get envious when I see people who are rich. I get upset when I see rich people doing things. I get upset when I see people have nicer things than me. I wish I had the nicer things. Okay, all right. I'm just saying accept that and understand that. Because this is now going to be a process, and this is where you got to start. And the way that you do that now is you got to start diving into that personal development side of things. And now, look, you're not going to change your mindset tomorrow. That's not how it works. But you got to start absorbing things to change the way you think. Because if you are constantly hating on other people, you're hating on other people's success, you wish you had that success, and you just feel miserable because you don't have it, and you're constantly complaining. And if you don't know this yourself, ask other people. If people around you say, man, you got a negative attitude, or they're telling you this, take that for what it's worth and start reading some personal development books. Start listening to personal development podcasts. Start watching personal development videos. Things about mindset, things about growth mindsets, things about thinking bigger and abundance. And again, with abundance, I'm not saying you got to sit there and just meditate that, oh, everything's going to be bigger and better. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about just thinking that there's more opportunity out there. Because when you think there's more opportunity out there, you're going to start taking actions very differently. And when you start taking actions differently, you're going to see a whole new world of possibilities. And the life kind of works in this very weird way where we think that your trajectory in life is going to be this linear transaction. But that's not how it works. Life and success kind of work like a pinball machine where when you shoot a pinball, the pinball just goes everywhere. It goes up, down, circular, sideways, left, right, circular, straight, up, back. You never know where you're going to go next. And the most weird things might take you to a different trajectory, but that is what allows you to see the opportunities. There was somebody who was saying that success and opportunities are like buses. And you only learn the bus schedule when you actually have to get somewhere. That's when you're going to actually notice the bus and be able to get on the bus. Those buses keep running, even when you're not paying attention to them. But the only time you're ever going to pay attention is when you see the bus, when you see the bus schedule. But in order for you to see the bus schedule, you have to be willing to see the opportunities in the first place. I started off throwing parties in college. In fact, before parties, I was playing a drum at Indian weddings. Playing that drum at Indian weddings got me to meet DJs. Meeting DJs got me to start hosting parties. Hosting parties got me to realize I hated hosting parties. But that gave me money to start investing in real estate. When I started investing in real estate, I got my real estate salesperson's license. When I got my real estate salesperson's license, I became a real estate wholesaler. When I became a real estate wholesaler, I realized that I needed to do something more scalable. When I started doing that, I started getting more on the internet. I started e-commerce stores. When I started an e-commerce store, I got screwed over. When I got screwed over, I started a class on how to launch a business without getting screwed over. When I started that class, people said I need to get on social media, so I got an Instagram. When I got an Instagram, people said I should start a blog. But English is my second language, so I didn't want to start a blog. Instead, I started a YouTube channel. Then I started a YouTube channel, and that gave me the opportunity to start something like Briefs Media. When I started Briefs Media, that opened up even more doors for me. So you can see it was a pinball. I go from one place to the other, to the other, to the other. And when I was 18, 17, 19, I would have never predicted where I would be in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years from then. But this is where you cannot expect what's going to come next and think, oh, this is not going to help me get to where I want to go. You just got to get started. Life is a pinball machine, but you have to start by changing that mindset. That way you can actually get to the next place that you want to go. Now, by the way, if you are somebody who likes to stay up to date to what's happening in the top finance and business news, that's where you can join something like Market Briefs, which is my free daily newsletter, where my team is working to break down what's happening in things like the housing market, the stock market, the general economy. That way you're not blindsided about what's happening. It's an easy to read email. You can read it in less than 5 minutes every morning, and is completely free. So if you haven't joined Market Briefs yet, I got the link to how you can join down in the description below, or you can also go to briefs.co/market. That's briefs.co/market. The second thing that you have to work on if you want to increase the velocity of your wealth is your commitment. And this might be as a business owner, this might be as an employee, this might be as an investor. And the biggest thing that I hear, because especially in today's culture, is, oh, I don't want to do too much at my company because I don't like this idea of doing more than what I'm paid for, right? We talked about quiet quitting. We talked about all these things happening in our culture right now where people are like, I don't feel like I'm treated good enough in my company. But you want to know what is a common trait amongst 99.9% of leaders, 99.9% of executives, 99.9% of overly compensated people, is they had to go through a whole bunch of time of being undercompensated for what they did. These are the people that were the overachievers, that did more than what they were paid for, that did more than what they were asked for, and went out of their way to succeed. So now, if your goal is to be overpaid, the way that you become overpaid is by being underpaid first. And you might feel like, oh, what are you talking about? You mean I have to go to work and work harder and do things for my boss and make my boss richer? Yes. If you are an employee, the best way to get richer, meaning through your income, not through your investments, right? We know that investments are how you really become wealthy. But the best way for you to make more money is by making your boss richer. Now, that might seem really counterintuitive, but the reality is if you are the person that gets into work early and you're overachieving and you're working harder and you're outperforming everybody else, who's going to be the first person to get that promotion? You. Now, you might be saying, oh, there's office politics. If your office politics are constantly overlooking you and treating you bad, go to a new company. Every company is not bad. Are there some crappy companies out there that pick the wrong people consistently and that are picking whatever the word is, they're picking the wrong people? Then leave the company. Go to a company that will appreciate your hard work and your dedication. Because when you are the most valuable person in your department, the person who's going to get that bigger raise, the bigger promotion, that's going to be the last to get laid off, that's going to be the person that gets the most praise financially, is going to be the person who's constantly busting their butt. Because from a company's perspective, what they want is valuable employees. And when you become more valuable, they're going to be willing to pay you more. And the reason why they're going to be willing to pay you more is because you have something that 99% of the other employees don't. And in order for you to do that, you got to make that commitment to put in the work. If you're just trying to coast by, I can guarantee you're always going to be struggling because that's the mindset you have towards everything in life. If you're just trying to get by and do the minimum amount of work, you're never going to be able to see that success that you want financially, that real financial success. If you're okay with where you are, then fine, keep coasting. You want to be average? Fine, keep coasting. But if you really want to scale, you really want to earn more, you want to see that top level, you want to be the top dog in your company, you're going to have to outwork people. You're going to have to outperform people. You're going to have to outdo people. And you're going to have to put in that commitment in order to do that. And sometimes, guess what? You're not going to get compensated right away. But you're going to have to keep doing things that people don't see. When I first started my YouTube channel, it's kind of funny. I think it took me almost a year and a half of constantly making my videos before I got my first YouTube payday. That meant I was putting out 3 videos a week after week after week. Month after 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 month. And let me remind you, I am a licensed attorney. My time is valuable. I could charge a lot of money to review contracts and to do business legal work. But I kept making YouTube videos. And for the first almost 18 months, I didn't get my first check. And when I got my first check, it was a few $100s. My first check of almost a year and a half worth of work. That's a lot of commitment to something that's not making me any money. But today, guess what? I'm getting overpaid on YouTube. Why? Because I got underpaid in the first place. If you want to get overpaid, you got to get underpaid in the first place and put in the work that other people are not willing to do. The third thing that you have to fix if you want to accelerate your velocity towards wealth is you got to fix your discipline. Now, discipline is a lot of things, right? Once you start building that commitment, you're going to be working on that discipline to get to work, but it's also the discipline financially, because the reality is becoming wealthy is as much mindset as it is what you do with your money. Because the thing that holds so many people back from becoming wealthy is, you're telling me I got to invest my money today and invest it for years before I see any return? Yeah, that's the whole name of the game. And people have to see that light at the end of the tunnel right in front of them, because they need to see the return today. I need the instant gratification. I need to see the growth today. I want to double my money in 6 months. And when you don't have the discipline of knowing to trust the system, trust the process, and continuing putting in the reps. It's very hard to do that. It's the same reason why it's so hard to lose weight. Because unless you see the success quickly, it's very hard to stay committed. But the reality is we know, right? If you want to get in shape and lose weight, what do you got to do? You got to eat better. You got to eat healthier. You got to put in more exercise, period, right? Now you can get into all the nitty gritty of the types of nutrition and the types of diets and the types of exercise that you do. But at the end of the day, you got to eat better. You got to work out more. You got to put in more reps. And now maybe in the beginning, you start to see a little bit of success, right? Because when you go from really fat and unhealthy and you hit the gym for the first time and you start eating salads for the first time, yeah, you might lose some weight very quickly. But then you kind of hit this plateau where, yeah, you got 2 months of solid success, and now you're in month 3, and now things are starting to get hard because now, yeah, you're not eating as many Twinkies and Ho-Hos anymore. You're not eating the pizza like you were anymore. You're starting to miss the McDonald's. You're starting to miss all the unhealthy foods. And you're also like, I haven't really noticed a difference in my body in the last 2 weeks. Do I really want to keep putting in this work? And now you're going to be put to the test. What do you really want to do? And the people that are going to win are going to keep putting in the reps because you got to keep working. And of course, yeah, you got to keep improving the types of reps that you're doing. You got to work on your physical and financial education, but you got to keep putting in them reps. And it's the same thing financially. You got to keep putting in the reps. You got to keep investing your money. Sometimes you're going to see down markets where you're going to feel like you're losing money. You got to keep putting in the reps. Sometimes you're going to see bad things happen in the economy. You got to keep putting in the reps. Sometimes you're going to see the economy booming. You got to keep putting in the reps. Sometimes you're going to lose your job. You got to keep putting in the reps. You got to keep doing the things that are going to make you wealthy, right? You got to keep investing your money. You got to keep living below your means. You got to keep working to build up the savings cushion. You got to keep working to build up the cash flow because that's what's going to make you wealthy. And in the beginning, sure, it's exciting. Oh, I'm going to get rich. And then you start getting those offers of how you can get rich in 6 months with the 6-step formula. All you got to do is pay me $997. Now, I'm not hating online education. I actually love a lot of online education, but there's a lot of crap out there too. And if all you're trying to buy is that way to get rich in 6 months, well, what do you think is going to happen? Because now you're trying to get away from the real process. You cannot bypass hard work. You cannot bypass the commitment. You cannot bypass the sacrifice. You cannot bypass the mindset. You cannot bypass the discipline, period. It takes discipline if you want to be able to succeed. And you got to make sure you're putting in the reps, even when things are hard, if you really want to be able to see that success financially, physically, in any part of your life, even in your relationships. Guess what? Things are going to get hard with your wife, with your husband. Things will go through rough patches, but you got to keep loving that spouse. You got to keep coming back and showing them love if you want to be able to make it work. Everything is going to go through tough phases, but you got to be willing to have that discipline to keep coming back and keep putting in the reps. And the fourth thing that you have to work on if you want to increase the velocity of your money is your risk tolerance. The biggest thing that I hear, the biggest criticism that I hear about investing is what happens if I lose money? What happens if I buy an investment and then it goes down? What happens if the economy crashes? What happens if the market crashes? Well, let me tell you this. You are going to lose money, period. When you invest your money, everybody will lose money at some point, period. That's not just a possibility, it's a fact. Every single person in the game has lost money at some point. But when you don't take that risk, you're also guaranteed to lose money. Because now, not only are your savings going to lose value to inflation, but you're also missing out on huge opportunities. That's a loss too. Because if you don't invest your money and you don't see that growth, there's a risk to that. Because you might be broke now, scared to take that risk, and then you're going to be broke 10 years from now too because you didn't take that risk. And so this is where now you have to understand risk is associated with the game, but that's how you learn. You learn through mistakes. You learn by putting your skin in the game. You learn by actually putting your money to work. I have lost money in investments. I've talked about this openly. I made a video on my YouTube channel talking about my worst real estate deal ever. If you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and watch it. See what it's like to lose money. I will walk you through the deal. I walk you through the deal and show you all the things that went wrong because I was early. I was young when I bought that deal. I did not know what I was doing. And I made every mistake possible. And you'll see the stress and the financial stress that I went through. It was not a fun time, but I learned so much in that one deal that you cannot bypass that work. Yeah, it was very stressful when it happened. I can look back and laugh at it now. I can look back and talk about all the funny things that happened now. But during that time, it was very stressful. I was losing a lot of money at a time when I didn't have that money to lose. But that's a part of the game. You got to be willing to go through the process. And what's interesting is as you get bigger, the risk also gets bigger. When I was first starting off in my event planning companies, my first party was a flop because we had some issues with the original club that we were going to work with. That lost me maybe $1,000, which was like a ton of money for me back then. That was pretty much all the money that I had in my bank account. When it was my worst real estate deal ever, now we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, which was, again, pretty much everything that I had in the bank account. It was a lot of money. And then going forward even more, when I was running the Minority Mindset trying to build a blog, I spent $500,000 trying to build a blog because I hired the best consultants. I built a team and I was just trying to throw money at the problem, trying to fix it. It was a complete flop. $500,000 down the drain. Yes, risk comes, but without that risk, you're never going to be able to see the growth. And this is where you have to get started, but also understand that those mistakes are not killers of your total financial success. You might have lost a deal, but you'll lose the investment. You'll win the investment game if you keep coming back. And yes, you're going to keep learning. Every phase in your life is going to have new risks, new lessons, and new education, but you got to be willing to come back each and every time. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you got to do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.